Record this. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of season 1 of the report. I am your host, Jon Harper, and I'm coming to you on a Saturday morning with a lot on my heart, a lot to talk to you guys about. Woke up just marinating about the week, marinating about what happened within my week, as I'm sure you do often on the weekends, and just enjoying some of your time. And so what I want to talk to us about today and really have a conversation about is kind of, should I stay or should I go? I got that song in my head now. Should I stay or should I go now? We could put that on the edit. We could put that on the edit a little bit. But should I stay or should I go? Really a topic that the reason it's been weighing on me is, right now I work in corporate America. I'm sure a lot of you guys that listen to the report have similar situations, right? Work a job in corporate America, and in my role, let me be clear. The should I stay or should I go question is not for me. It is a question that I'm getting from a lot of people in my organization, and I think it's worth addressing. Let me back up where, I think a couple foundational thoughts come to mind. And the first one is, I think everyone has those questions every now and then, based on situational things that come up, right? So I don't think it's abnormal to ask yourself, should I stay or should I go from this situation? I do think it's important to know how to navigate that question, and know what resources are available, what questions you should be asking as second and third level questions to yourself. And so we're going to explore some of those in this pod. But the other thing that I think is foundational is just knowing what the pull is, either direction, right? So I've heard it said this way, like, am I running to something or running from something? I'll rephrase. Are you running to something or are you running from something? And I think foundationally, that's a really core thing to explore. So we're going to dig into that too. And then I want to talk to the people that people are staying or going to, right? Or I want to talk to the leaders listening out there that may have people, like, you got to understand, you got people asking this question. Right. So right now I lead a group of people I lead about 24, 25 individuals right now in my role. And, a part of my job is to understand that they're not going to be my employees forever. Like, I love them. I think the world of them. I hired them for a reason. I have really high hopes for their career aspirations and their career path and all of those things. But candidly, I think it's really important to know that they're not going to be there forever. And it's my job to support that. So I want to dig into that with the group. And first I want to commend you guys for, if you've stuck around this long in the pod, that means you're probably in this phase. You either are in this phase or have gone through this phase or can see this phase on the horizon. So it's like, man, how do I navigate this? And so, first thing I would submit to all of y'all is it's an okay question to ask. It's an okay question to ask, and it's a normal question to ask. And then what I would also submit to you is, just be aware of who you are asking for guidance from during this season, right? So I'll give you an example. One of the things that happens a lot of times is we get in this season, and instead of asking the question diplomatically within ourselves and to other people, we tend to share things that are bothering us about what is creating this question in the first place based on our current situation, right? So, man, my boss is doing this, or the job has changed, or I'm not making enough money, or there's things that are in my current situation that I don't like. And so instead of asking the question with the spirit of trying to figure out what the next step is, I'm asking the question with the spirit of, I just want you to hear all of my bad stuff so that you can understand what I'm trying to get across, right? So thing number one is just make sure you're asking with the right heart. If you're asking somebody for guidance with the stance that all I'm really looking for is agreement, you're not going to get anywhere in what you're trying to accomplish with figuring out, should you stay, should you go? So I'm going to say it again. Asking somebody for guidance with the real reason being you just want agreement is not going to help you get to where you want to go. And so I would tell all of you listening, as you're navigating the season of what should I do, just have the right heart towards it, and be open to getting some wisdom from people that you trust. Be open to what the conversations are going to sound like when you ask the question. It may not line up with what your original leaning could be, right? So just be open to it. Just be open to it. The other thing is, when you're in this season of should you stay, should you go, I think it's really important to know that you're gonna disappoint somebody 95% of the time, no matter the direction you go. So this is for a lot of us that are struggling with people pleasing. Okay, so hear me. So I just got off a situation about this on Friday, and it's Saturday right now. So I'm 20 hours removed from a conversation like this with an individual, and the conversation is so obviously that this person probably should look for the next step in their path, whatever that step is, and they're hesitant because of what the person that they're leaving is going to think about them. So if you're hesitant to do something based on what other people are going to think, this is going to be a really tough season for you. This is going to be a really challenging season if all you're going to think about is who is going to think what. Right? So let's play the situation out. Should you stay or should you go? If you stay when you know you should go, right? You're probably going to disappoint yourself. That's the most important person. Well, let's reframe it. You're probably going to disappoint the person that wants you to go somewhere, whether that's a new employer, whether that's a new business, whether that's whatever that looks like. The most important person you're probably going to disappoint, if you know you should go and you stay, is you, and hear me, your future self. The most important person that you will disappoint if you stay when you know you should go is your future self. I heard it said this way: your future self is counting on you to make really good decisions today. Your future self is counting on you to make really good decisions today. And there is no navigating that. There is no getting away from the disappointment of waking up a year from now and your future self's like, man, why did you make that decision? We're still in the same spot. We're still in the same spot. And it's all because of the decisions me, you, everybody, right, are making today. And so I would just encourage you, if you're in this back and forth, I don't know where to go season, Your future self is counting on you to make a really good call right now. Like, that's it. So, yeah, you might disappoint your boss. Yeah, you might disappoint a friend of yours. Yeah, you might disappoint somebody. Maybe you're a leader. Maybe you're a leader, right? And this is a hard one too, because I've been in leadership for almost 11 years now. Maybe you're a leader and you need to leave, and you're worried about disappointing the people you're leading. Maybe you're a leader that has a heart for their people, that loves on their people. You love the people you're leading. You've sown your blood, sweat, tears, emotional equity, physical, like you've given them everything. And it's time to go. It's time to go to the next phase. Maybe leaving them is what you're concerned about. Right? I will tell you. So I listen very regularly to a podcast. It's called The Basement with Tim Ross. So highly recommend The Basement. Shout out to Tim Ross. Honestly, it is really fun to listen to a man of God that is very real, very raw, very unscripted, and just getting after it. And the reason I share him with you is, his podcast came birthed out of him leaving as a lead pastor of a church, right? So maybe there's a pastor or two listening and going, man, I've been pastoring this church for 15 years, and I knew I was supposed to give up the post 3 years ago, but I lead a church of 850 people, 2,000 people, 200 people, and they love me and I love them. And if I leave them, I don't know what the heck they're going to do. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I would just encourage you, get some wise counsel to hear your heart and to help guide what that season looks like. The other side is, and this is speaking to both leaders and employees. If you are staying when you should be going, okay? So now we're just here now. If you're staying when you should be going, you are not doing your employer or employees a favor. Here's why. If I'm staying, but my spirit knows I should be going, I'm not giving 120% of what I could give to these people. I'm showing up, like I'm there. My body is there. My effort is there. My attention is there, but it's there like 75% of the way. And for all the employers on the pod, and for all, let's just think about it. As a leader, I need my employees to be 100% there, right? I get maximum return on the time spent, effort spent, investment spent when my employees are 100% executing. When my employees are 70% executing, I can only get 70% of the potential. So I would rather, right, have an employee leave and find a new one that can give me 120%, even when I have to train them and coach them up and get them to the skill level and all of that stuff. Because not only is the business getting the output, the culture feels it, the camaraderie feels it, the P&L feels it, and that person that I really care about is off doing something that they love to do. Win-win. Leaders, if your employee is staying when they should be going, you are making a huge mistake. Financially, culturally, your brand is getting a hit. People know. People know. Listen, I have been in rooms where people know this leader holds on to his people too long. They hold on to the people because they're terrified. Or they don't want to do the work to develop the new people. It's one of the two. So, again, for those employees that are staying when they know they should be going, trust me, even though it may be hard, you may think you're going to disappoint your teammates, your leader, your company, your church, whatever. Hear me. It is better long term to go if you know you need to go. Now, let's rotate. Leaders, if you're staying when you know you should go, your employees are not getting the leader that they need to reach their potential. I'm going to say it again. Leaders, if you're staying when you should be going, your employees, your company are not, your customers, your church members, whatever it is, they are not getting what they need to reach their potential because their leader is not in it full-heartedly. You can't be. If every day I wake up and go to work and I know I should not be there is no way I'm giving my heart, soul, mind, spirit, focus, creativity to the people that I'm leading. It's just not going to happen. So I understand, as a leader, I understand, man. To leave your people is, it almost feels betraying. It almost feels like I'm betraying the people that I'm leading when I leave them. But understand, big picture, long term, they are not going to get the leader they need to reach their potential. And as a leader, our job is to give those people, our people right now, our job is to give them the best opportunity to be as prepared as possible for whatever's next in their season, in their journey, whether it's with us or not. Now, let's talk about the reality, right? Let's just talk about the reality. Like, if you, now those last 10 minutes was about if you're staying when you know you should be going, right? Let's talk about the reality of the human element, right? Not every boss is going to be an awesome person when you go to them and say you got to go. Some bosses are jerks. Like, and they're not jerks in their heart. I'm not saying that. Listen, there's probably, I don't know who your boss is, but he or she could be an absolute a-hole. I don't know. So woo. Okay, we back. Listen, I don't know. Your boss could be an absolute just piece of garbage. I don't know. But in my experience, if your boss is giving you a hard time about you leaving or about you transitioning or about whatever, it's probably out of fear. It's probably out of fear. It's out of fear. It's out of hurt. They may be hurt that you're leaving. But most leaders, when they make it difficult for their employees to leave, it is either out of fear or out of disappointment. Now, here's what you got to know. I believe everybody listening, I'm just going to believe the best. Everybody listening to this podcast has a good heart. Okay, let's just check that box and then we can move on with that common ground. Okay. If you have a good heart and your leader's going to be hurt or disappointed or scared, you don't want to make anybody hurt or scared, right? But the bottom line is, if you have to get to a point where you can't let somebody else's fear, like their fear, don't take this off road, okay? But making the right decision for me and my family is not something that I'm willing to sacrifice to help you get over your fear. Just period. I'm just not willing to do it. So I think that that's the biggest thing. I think that the biggest thing is you got to know you're going to have some tough conversations. Maybe 1, maybe 12. I don't know. You're going to have some tough conversations, and you're going to have to rip that Band-Aid off, and you're going to have to listen. There's some, I will tell you right now from experience in the season I'm in, I know, because they've had conversations with me and my leadership team. I know half dozen people right now that want to leave their role today. They have known for a while they should not be in this role, and they're not leaving the role because they're afraid of the emotional and mental manipulation that their leader will work on them in that conversation. If you're that leader, stop being an idiot. Like, these are people. These are not your pawns. Leaders, your employees are your people. They are not your pawns to win your game. That is not how this works. These are human beings with dreams, with goals, aspirations, and guess what? Their aspiration may not be to work for your company for the rest of their darn life. Sorry. like I tell my staff all the time, like, the odds of you working here for me for the next 15 years is very low. Like, we're in 2023 right now. Like, the average, especially post-COVID, Lord have, I mean, people are bouncing. Okay. Like, I'm a big loyalty person. I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, like, people are going to do exactly what they want to do. And so my job is to create the culture that people want to stay if the staying is the right thing for their path. But the odds that all 24 people that work for me right now are going to be working for me in 2033 is very low. Like, so why are we trying to hold on for dear life? Like, these are people, man. These are people who have aspirations and goals and things they want to accomplish too. You reached your level because of things you wanted to accomplish. Let them reach their level that they want to accomplish. Don't be trying to hold people back. I just get fired up about leaders that try to hold people back because I don't want to have to go find a new employee that does this. How selfish. Like, for real, like, how selfish can you be? That's your, like, really? Like, leadership is about servitude. Leadership is about, you are the servant to your people. And so you don't want that person to leave just because you got to go find somebody else, knowing that if that person leaves, they'll have a better journey step. Like, what are we, come on. I don't know. I don't. So if you're a leader out there that's like, well, I hired these people and I invested in them, and right, like I sowed all this time, and I was doing this and I was showing them how to do it, and and now they're gonna leave. I can't believe this. Like, now I gotta go do it again and whatever. Yes. Yep. Yeah, you gotta do it again. But I'll do anything to keep them. I'll give them an extra $5,000. I'll give them a bonus. I'll give them unlimited PTO. I'll give them a new title. You are dumb. like you're dumb as a business owner, as a leader, as a leader of people, as a friend, as a human. Like, because here's the thing, let's placate this out, leader that's trying to save that person from going somewhere else that is their real, true, right next step. Okay, you're going to give them a $5,000 bonus, right? They're going to be happy for about 2 days. The day that they get it in their bank account and the day that they spend it on something stupid. Those are the 2 days that they're going to be happy. And then 4 weeks from now, the culture hasn't changed. The call hasn't changed. The direction hasn't changed. The desire in their heart hasn't changed. What they want to do next hasn't changed. Their itch hasn't changed. So you trying to put a $5,000 Band-Aid on something that it is not a money problem. Even if it is as shallow as a money problem. Like, you don't think they're just going to get in another money problem? Like, let them go. Be a servant to your people. And yes, you got to go find more people. And yes, you got to retrain them. And yes, you got to remotivate them. And yes, you got to fit them into the culture. And yes, you got to, all of these things. Of course, that's what leadership is. You signed up for it. And you signed up for it. So let's talk about if you're supposed to stay, but you're considering going. If you're supposed to stay, but you're considering going. Right? So this is the one that I see. We just talked about the mistake that the leader makes by giving somebody more money or more title or more promotion or whatever, more PTO, whatever, more influence, more whatever. That puts a Band-Aid on that. For those of you that are considering going, and you should be staying, my submission to you would be, what are you running from? Now, this is gonna be a hard 10, 15 minutes right now for some of y'all. I was going right at the leaders for a second, but candidly, like, and by the way, maybe this is for the leaders too. I don't know. Maybe this is for leaders that are trying to leave a leadership position. Let me just put myself under the gun here. I will be very, very transparent and tell you, especially, and again, I'm falling on the sword a little bit for the leaders here. There are plenty of times where I wanted to go. Listen, at one point, my wife will be on this podcast. You can ask my wife. There are plenty of times where I'm like, I got to look for another job. Like, I'm on LinkedIn looking for stuff. I'm on Indeed looking for stuff. I'm talking to people. Right? And so if you're having those feelings, thoughts, whatever, totally normal. Here's what I would submit to you. Are you running from something or to something? Let me expand. Leaders, pastors, business owners, employees, I don't care if you're a doctor or a ditch digger. Listen to me. If you're running from stress, you ain't gonna get away from it. If you're running from pressure, chances are you're not gonna get away from it. If you're running from bad culture, totally different thing. Like, listen, if you're running from my boss is an a-hole and like I'm miserable right now, that's different. Then you fall in the first category. Like, you're in bucket one, like, right? So you should be going, but you staying. Nah. If like every day you show up and you're like, dude, this woman is passive aggressive. I never feel like enough. I'm always feeling like my stress is there on my drive to work. On my drive home, I feel guilty because I'm not in front of my computer doing something. On my drive to lunch, I feel bad because I'm taking 40 minutes instead of 30, even though I have an hour. Like, if that's your world, you fall in the first bucket. But if you fall in the second bucket where it's like, I got a job offer from somebody. After 9 months of working here, I got a job offer from somebody. Because I work here and because it's on my resume for an extra $5,000 a year, I'm gonna go over here. I would challenge you. It's gonna be really tough to get any real return from operating like that. And I'll tell you why, right? Consistency compounds. I have a colleague right now that she says this all the time, like consistency compounds, consistency compounds, consistency compounds. And the reason why she says that is exactly true. Like, you can't be a master at a craft if you leave in every 9 months. Well, how are you going to be good? Like, how are you going to be good if every 9 to 18 months you got another job? You can't be great at that. Listen, if you want to be great, you better commit to honoring your commitments. You better commit to knowing there's going to be peaks and valleys along this journey, but you can't leave every time you get an extra $3,000 offer somewhere. You will never be great that way. You will never be great. Hear me. You will never be great if every time there's pressure, you got to run from it to deal with it. I love you. But this is a battle I have to fight a lot. A lot. Historically, I have dealt with pressure terribly. And I'm getting better at it. But I'll give you an example of one that, man, I wanted to leave so bad. And I knew that I was like, leaving is not a good strategy. Because, my son right now, my son is 3. Colin is 3 right now. And this resonates with me so deeply. Like, as a leader, I equate leadership a lot to parenting. Because, and that's not to call my, the employees that we have like 3-year-olds. But at the end of the day, employees a lot of times are like, listen, we are humans, and human behavior is just more raw and unfiltered when you're 3 than when you're 33, right? So I tell my son a lot, we're not quitting this. If you quit this, you're gonna quit. You will quit everything. Let me say it again. If you quit this, you'll start a quitting habit. And a quitting habit is real hard to break. As soon as something gets hard, bang, I gotta go. I gotta do something else. A quitting habit is really hard to break. And I'll give you a personal example in my life. I was 27. I think I just turned 28. So it was my first year as a leader. I was 28 years old. And it's my first year as a leader. I was 28 years old, and I had a boss that we still are really good friends to this day. But I didn't know that we were gonna have this kind of relationship. And this is my first year in leadership, and I'm in a new city. I just moved to Miami. I took this role, and I'm learning leadership, and I'm 28, and I'm young, and I'm leading people older than me and more experienced than me. And I'm in a new city, and I just got married. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was, my boss was driving back from Fort Myers. That was part of his team, and I had a couple people up there as well. And so he was driving back from Fort Myers, and I'm in Miami, and we're having a conversation, and he is coaching me very directly, very directly. And I decided that it would be a good idea to give him some upward feedback. And I said something like, hey, so-and-so, hey, I feel like you're like attacking me right now. Like, I feel like it's like, this is not, I feel like I'm not doing anything right. I feel like I constantly got things to work on, and like, I'm not getting any encouragement. Like, I need, I need you to help me in that area. And he paused, and he, as firmly but kindly as he could, he said, John, I'm gonna give you something, but it's not gonna be what you want. And I said, okay. And he said, I need you to toughen up. What? He said, I need you to toughen up. He said, listen, man, we work in a very high-paced environment. You're doing a lot of great things, but if I gotta stroke your ego every time you do one thing right, I love you, but you gotta be able to take some feedback, because you're not gonna get better if you can't take feedback. I remember hanging up that phone and being like, I'll be honest, the first thing that went through my head is like, F that guy. The first thing that went through my head was, screw that guy, man. What? And trust me, there were some superlatives that were coming out that were not PG-13 rated, like are on this podcast right now. But I'm like, man, this MF, right? I remember going home and I told my wife, and she wallowed in the same self-pity that I was in. And I gotta tell you, I remember that conversation today because what I felt like doing was going, F it. I don't even like this city. I don't know anybody down here. I'm 4 hours from family. I'm newly married. I'm just gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna move back to Orlando. No, well, I'm not doing this. This guy's an a-hole. And I thank God I didn't run. I thank God I didn't go. And the reason why is I developed something in me. I developed a toughness. I developed a callus that helped me grow to the next level. The next level in leadership, the next level in emotional growth, spiritual growth, financial prosperity, relational prosperity. I needed to toughen up. And some of you are in a season right now where the season is trying to toughen you for what's coming. And if you run, that process can't happen. Therefore, your next season can't happen. And even if it does, it will not be a successful season because you're not tough enough to handle the success that's coming from that season. You got to get tough if you want to win. You got to be okay with digging deep and figuring out if I should stay. There is some crucifixion that needs to happen within us. And a lot of times that comes with staying in a place that your flesh wants to run from. But I got to get this characteristic in me because I don't have it right now. And if I stay here, I'm gonna get that. Even if it's not perfect. Even if I think my boss is a jerk. Even if my employees aren't working as hard. Even if, let me talk to the business owners and leaders for a second. Like, listen, if your employees aren't executing the way you want them to execute, like, I love you. Leadership is influence. That's on us. That's on us. So guess what? Maybe you gotta stay in that place and you gotta learn how to recruit better. Maybe you gotta learn how to train better. Maybe you gotta learn how to communicate better. Maybe you gotta learn how to connect better with your people. Maybe you gotta read some books on developing culture. Maybe you gotta read some books on how to really develop somebody's career path so they're more invested in their day-to-day to make the business, the church, the organization, the sales team, the tech team, the whatever, get better. Maybe that skill set you've got to develop in order to get your business to 400, 500, 600 people, 5,000 people, 25,000 people. I don't know what the number is. I don't know how big the number is. I don't know how big the dream is. But there are some skills that you need to learn in the place that you are today. And if you run from this place, it's going to take you longer to get to a new place that's going to still require you to develop the skills you need to develop now. But it's just going to take you 18 months by the time you leave here, get to somewhere else, and then realize, oh, snap, I still got to learn how to recruit better. I still got to learn how to create a company culture. Dang, I could have done that 18 months ago. But you got to be willing to dig into it. So you got to be willing to dig into it. Listen, I'm in a phase right now in my world where, in my day-to-day job, I'm 15 months into my job. I was good at my last job. I prayed, okay, God, this new role, it's in another time zone. I had never lived outside Florida until we moved to Houston 15 months ago. Never in my life. I'm born in Florida, raised in Florida, went to college in Florida, I worked in Florida, all that stuff, right? I've never lived outside the state until 14, 15 months ago. And I remember praying to God, okay, God, this opportunity got brought to me. It's a massive shift for my family. Massive. At the time, we had a 2- and 5-year-old. And I remember praying, God, if this is the right thing, give it to me. If it is not the right thing, I don't want it. Now, I'm going to give it every single effort that I can, because I'm a big believer that you got to give it all you got. Like, God's not going to just move just because you pray and like just sit on your couch. Like, you got to, that faith without works thing really is true. But I just remember thinking, and when we prayed about it like this, the whole time, God, give it to me if it's the right thing. And so he gives it to me. I'm like, well, it must be the right thing. So we moved to Houston. It's been the worst performing year of my corporate career in terms of revenue performance. It's been the worst performing year of my career, period. So why would God bring me here? Why would I be in this season? Why would my Creator put me in this season so that I could lose? I believe he put me in this season so that I could go through what I needed to go through to get the skills I needed, to get the backbone I needed, to get the exposure I needed, to get the skill set, to get the relationships, to get to where he wants to get me to next. And that may be me staying in this job for 15 more years. I don't know. I do not know. But I had to make a decision. Should I stay or should I go? And the skill set that I've decided to manifest in my season now is just another skill set that can give me increased opportunities for whatever's down the road. And so, man, whether you should stay, whether you should go, I would submit to you that get some people around you that you trust. Get some people around you that have made wise decisions in the past. Don't just, this is gonna make some people mad. Don't just go to your friends that makes the same stupid decisions they've been making since college and then go to them and ask them. Like, check the fruit. If you got somebody that is where you want to be, and I don't mean is where you want to be in terms of title or earnings or business size or church size or I mean like, is their life something you want to emulate? We all know somebody that has more money, has more title, has more influence, but their marriage sucks. Like, they're not a good parent. They're never there. They're not respected in their community. Their brand stinks. Right? And so find a few people that you're like, the way that their life exists based on what I know and based on their brand and reputation in the community and the business and things like that, like, their life's something I want to replicate and I want to run this by them. Now, they probably are not going to tell you what to do. Full disclosure, you ready? This is so hard. Especially for people that have been, I think it's for a couple groups of people. I think it's for the younger crowd that is going to care a lot about what other people think. Because if you think about it, like, our culture develops people to say, do what I'm told, versus helping cultivate their ability to think. So for the younger people, a lot of the younger folks on listening to this, like, it's going to be harder for you because you're going to have to make the call. Nobody's going to have to make the call. I remember I had these conversations every once in a while with people that are looking to leave one business unit and enter another one. And I had this conversation with the woman that took my job previously when we lived in Jacksonville. And so she was leaving a business unit and she was considering coming to the one that she now is in, which is the one that I am still in, but just in a different capacity. And she said, man, I don't know. I don't know what to do. And at the end of the conversation, after giving her things to consider, I said, well, and her name's Malia. And I said, well, Malia, listen, this is kind of big girl decision time. Like, That's it. You're going to make somebody upset. You're going to frustrate somebody, and you're going to disappoint somebody. This business unit wants you. This business unit wants you. Somebody's going to be upset. Somebody's going to be disappointed. But you're going to have to make this call, not nobody else, right? So it's big girl, big boy decision time. So it's going to be a little tougher for those of you that are younger because you're going to have to make the decision by yourself. And the other group of people it's going to be a little tougher on is people that have been in the same place for a very long time, that they have not made a change, right, for 7, 10, 15, 20 years. And some of you have known you should have gone 15 years ago. And you haven't, but it's nagging you. It keeps nagging you, right? The longer you've been doing something, the harder it is to break away from it. But I will tell you, the thing that kept coming up in my heart this morning was, if, Colin is 3 and Madison is 6, if my children do not see a blueprint of how to make transitions, a blueprint of being willing to ask for guidance and prayerfully consider the options and then make the decision, irregardless of other people's opinions. If they don't see a blueprint, they will follow the blueprint that I give them. If they don't see a blueprint, if your children do not see a blueprint of following their dreams, right? And let me say it this way. If your children don't see a blueprint of you following your dreams, they won't have a blueprint for them to follow their dreams. It's that simple. I'm going to say it again because I just heard it back and that was kind of fire, right? If your children don't see a blueprint of you following your dreams, they will not have something to follow in order for them to follow their dreams. If you think they're going to watch Jay-Z follow his dreams and be inspired enough to do it, look at all the people that watch Jay-Z today become a multi-billionaire, but mom and dad have been working the same job for 40 years, so that's what they're doing. Our children have more access to see more people do more things than ever before. Generational habits exist for a reason. Mom and dad worked in corporate America all their life. I would love to be Pharrell. That dude's so creative. That's unbelievable. Great. So they're going to try something for about 3 months. But the security that mom and dad ingrained in them is what they're going to fall back on. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with security. There's nothing wrong with, if that's your path, if that's the direction, if that's what you're supposed to do it. And by the way, please hear me. I am not knocking the generation. My mother and father worked for corporate America for their whole life, and they created an amazing life for my sister and I. So please hear me when I say I am not knocking that. What I am cautioning you about is if you are following that example that mom and dad gave you, but that's not the path for you, your children will do that same thing. They have an increased odds of doing the same thing, right? And oh, by the way, like, your kids can see it, guys. My kids know. If I'm having a bad day, but then I smile, they know I'm stressed. How many of y'all know, like, come on, man. They know. I want them to have an example of somebody following their dreams. I want them to have an example of somebody following their dreams. Because I want them to look at it and go, like, the Harper family follows their dreams. They may they may ruffle some feathers along the way. They may stir some things up, but like, they follow their dreams. Period. And they follow God's plan for them. And may not make sense to everybody. Probably won't. Probably won't. But they follow their dreams. And so if dad did that, if mom did that, I have permission to do that. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at on it. Should you stay or should you go? choice is yours. But I would just make sure you're not running from something and you're really running to something and running to your destiny. And your destiny is too precious to sit on the fence of this decision and or make the wrong decision, make the decision you know is not the right one for the sake of other people's contentment or for the sake of not being judged by other people that candidly, they don't give a rip about you anyway. Don't take that wrong. We don't have enough time to go into this right now, but I'm just telling y'all, if you care more about what your boss thinks about you, if you're leaving, watch the next person that leaves, how fast they get replaced. Bang. Just watch. Pay attention. Pay attention to how fast they're off distribution lists, they're off portals, they're off tech platforms, they're off email chains, they're off text threads, they're off, and their name is not mentioned within 20 hours of them just bang, woof, it's like the apocalypse. It's like Jesus came back and took it. Nobody's talking about him. So if you're worried about what other people are going to say about you, okay. My destiny is too important. It's too important to sacrifice based on what other people are going to think about me. My destiny is too important for other people. My destiny is too important to sacrifice based on what other people think. Period. So, and I think sometimes you just got to get stirred up. We got to get stirred up and let ourselves prioritize our future versus other people's opinions. And doesn't mean it's going to be easy in that moment, but I will promise you it will be worth it. And going back to what we talked about at the beginning of this pod, your future self needs you to make really good decisions today. Your future self needs you to make really good decisions today. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Hopefully you took away a couple things. I'm empathetic to it. It's not an easy thing, but I think it's something worth digging into. And just know you got a community of people here to help support you, that are understanding that this is not an easy season if this is a season you're going through, but it is really, really important that you honor yourself enough to make the decision that you believe is the right one to make, and follow the dreams that are in your heart. So hope you guys have a great weekend. I will talk to you on the next pod. Peace.